Welcome, everyone, to episode 406 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pentelaresco. I write stuff in podcasts too, and today, part one of my two-part conversation with Chase Degenhardt is live. Chase is working on a really cool app for writers everywhere, and we start having a talk about this and a bit of everything else to boot. I really enjoyed this. This is kind of a reshoot. We actually do this twice, but I enjoyed talking to Chase both times. He's just a really good guy and a really good dude, so... Beyond that, when Words Collide is this week, guys. I got 3 presentations this week. I'm going to talk about the one here in regards to the podcast right now. I'm doing a podcast presentation. It's basically, it deals with the fact that I am working towards telling you how to build a podcast. And I'm going to make it a little bit more Zoom-centric than what I normally would do any other time. But it's that kind of year, that kind of time. So that's what we'll be doing. Come out. The Zoom link will be in the description below. Feel free to join in and sign up. All right, guys, let's just get to it, shall we?
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
So, this is take 2, ladies and gentlemen. This take 1 ended up being an echo, and not the song either. Just a terrible, terrible echo. Not that I have a problem talking to my guests. Mr. Chase, how are you tonight?
I'm good. It's we finally seem to have summer here in Edmonton. It's actually been nice out, so yeah, I got to enjoy that all day, and I'm excited to be chatting with you, my friend.
Well, I've enjoyed chatting. Last time we talked MMA and your app. I got to see your app in action last time. So since we've talked, since I gave you some input, what did you take anything from it, or was I completely full of crap?
I think you gave me some pretty good feedback. I think we are going to add, I guess an Ask the Author type feature. And I think we're going to also play around with doing some virtual coffee clutches. So, I guess we're kind of plunging everybody in with, here, because I don't know what my app is out yet. But yeah, I think we're going to add some things to really try to create that reader interaction. I hope those things will be ready when we're going live in a couple weeks. Although I can't guarantee that. It's all we're working hard and we're flying by the seat of our pants a bit. So
that's always fun. I mean, I'm kind of doing the same thing too. I actually figured out, like, I'm setting up this talk for doing freelance writing and for When Words Collide. I'm actually going to talk about that, like becoming a freelancer. And I realized, like, the biggest failure I had when I made the decision is, what the hell am I going to do? Because when you start, you just like, I'll just do anything just to get paid, just to get yourself going. But that's actually the wrong way to do it. The right way to do it is, okay, what do I want to do? Let's try to do it. If it fails, go to the next thing. If it fails, go to the next thing. So I make my big announcements on this stuff this week. So, but taking chances, man. And I mean, this is the time to do it. We've crashed everything, so there's like nothing left to do. There's nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, very true. No, what you said makes a lot of sense. Actually, that was kind of my conversation with Adam Grease, who I know you know, and that was kind of what our conversation was about. In large part was just about having kind of that tight focus to what you're doing rather than maybe being too broad and getting spread too thin. So yeah, it makes sense to me that rather than wanting to take any work, you want to be looking for something specific and really kind of carve that out as your niche or your area of expertise. This is what Josh Pentelaresco does best.
So make an ass of myself on audio in every way, shape, or form, and do it that way, and and my way to sell, I actually figured out how I was going to sell this. There's two services I think I could do. I'm scared to do this one. Let's see what you think. Audiobooks. Because I think I got the experience with the audio to do it. I think people would actually like me to do it because it is a lot of work, right? So it's a service, and I can solve the problem because I kind of have an idea. I read from my novel, right, every weekend. And I've learned some things about what works. I learned some things about what doesn't work. And audio is a fun space, and I think that's where I'm going to try to carve my niche. You have decided you're going to take over the computer world. You're going to be like, I am going to be the middleman from middlemen. I'm going to connect authors to readers, or something to that effect.
Yeah, that's right. It's been a really exciting process. I guess for the audience, I'll kind of explain. I'm founding a company called Live World, and Josh and I have talked about it in the past. And you can basically think of it as being an events app or maybe a concert app, but centered around readers and writers and the literary space. So for now, obviously, in sort of the COVID world, focused around the online conferences, the online readings, basically everything is virtual, probably for sort of the foreseeable future, at least. I know there's still some fall events that they haven't canceled yet, so maybe we'll have some actual physical events in the fall, but yeah, for now, for folks, it's going to be virtual, and I guess what I've been doing that has me so excited over the past few months of creating this has been basically just talking to authors, talking to readers, talking to people who operate in this space, and kind of finding out just what their issues are, and how also kind of this event space works. And so it's been a lot of fun for me because there's probably nothing I like talking about more than books and the process of writing. So yeah, I've been having a blast doing it, for sure.
Yeah. So actually, I don't know if we talked about this last time. What's your favorite book stuff? Like, what's the stuff you like to read?
Yeah, well, I feel like it's kind of always changing. My favorite author for years and years and years has been Guy Gabriel Kay, who's a Canadian author. He was out here for Windward Supply, I guess about 4 years ago now, which is actually how I ended up in kind of the local writing community. I was already a writer, but I didn't really know people, hadn't really shown my work to very many people, and was kind of looking for help, and just found Windward Supply almost by accident. So Googled Guy Gabriel Kay's name and saw that he was coming to Calgary, and I was like, I'm going to that. So he's always been one of my favorites, but I tend to read just about every genre, literary, science fiction, I love historical novels. I like to read nonfiction as well. So I'm one of those people that some people hate, that kind of always has like 5 or 6 books on the go at once. I don't know. I know some people, they just like to work on one book at a time, but I don't know. I like to bounce around. You read one thing, and then you're like, okay, I'm good on this now. I want to process that, and I'm going to read some nonfiction. So I don't know. Just how I am.
So for you, who's the greatest author of all time, and why is it Guy Gabriel Kay? Is how people get in your good graces. Like yes, that's how you do it. But it. Everybody remembers like the cool thing about books, like the honest cool thing is you're imagining a whole world, you're hallucinating a whole world in your head, and it's a fantastic, wonderful experience, and the authors that do it really well are amazing. I've been for me, currently I'm reading this Adam guy. It's a Man of Cloud 9. I hear this guy's good somehow, some way. right? I've heard rumors, myths, legends that this Adam Dries guy's good. I could be wrong. I really could be, but I mean, I've heard there are rumors. There's innuendo. There's yeah, Adam, I'm ribbing you because you're fun to rib. Also, he blushes, I think, a little bit every time I do this. I actually have a theory that every time I say good things about him, he blushes. Like, oh, I don't blush. It's like, yeah, well, you know, it is what it is. But I mean, no, I'm a science fiction guy. Like, for me, I love science fiction because I love the idea of the possibilities of the future and the unknown. Most people are afraid of the unknown. I'm like, cool, because I want to see something different. I want to do something different. I think my job description now fits me for that reason. I love going into the unknown every day, and every day is a different day. Hey, I got a job today. Hey, I didn't get a job today, and it's like the mentality's there. And I'm ready for it now. Where it's like, I didn't get paid today. Oh well, I can still get that Tim Hortons coffee I've always wanted. So I mean, I'm working my way. I'm working my way up. I love the unknown, but for me, science fiction is I love the unknown. I'm a sucker for biographies, though, too. I actually think this is why the podcast is such a big thing for me. I love people's real stories.
Yeah, I definitely I enjoy both those genres. I'd say, probably my favorite thing about science fiction, and I still like soft science fiction, but when you get kind of like the hard science fiction, like Bob Sawyer is a great example, here in Canada, but there's guys like Neil Stephenson, and I'm probably saying this wrong, but like Chicks in Blue,
I'm
just
such
write these like incredible books that, they've done so much research on them. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. It's one of my favorite books. I love that book. It is so cool. I love his take on the Tower of Babel. I think it's probably the most accurate take. I think, if a tower like that really existed, right, it would be that. It would legitimately be that. I love, so when I'm looking at the television Snow Crash, I'm like, well, I already know where this goes. Right? And I still remember one of my favorite lines from there is "Don't fuck with Raven." I still love that line. It's one that it's straight to the point. You get a sense of who he is before you even meet him. It's a really simple one, very schoolyard, and it kind of is. And then the main character meets Raven. I can't remember the main character's name, but there's this scene where he talks about, hey, I'm not the baddest ass in the room anymore, but that's okay. And he comes to terms with the fact that he's not the toughest guy ever, which is like, which is something like you have a unique background in the sense that you've competed against people, and the objective is to assert your will over somebody else. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. And I mean, there's a certain humility that comes with that, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean that was where my my thought went instantly. Is when you start training martial arts, you figure out real quick that you're not the toughest guy around. It's actually I mean, it's essentially right. Like one of the first probably 6 months to 2 years of your training experience, right? You're basically just gonna get beat up all the time, right? So you're gonna know. For me, I actually didn't think that I was good enough to actually fight because I was, getting beat up in the gym every day. And if my coaches
that first day, like, you go, hey, I'm the baddest ass in the room, and then the guy you're fighting, guess what? I'm gonna turn you into a poodle, a balloon poodle, and it's like, poodle. How am I this poodle? Yeah, and that's it. Well, we all like having a healthy respect for who you are and who you're not is a great thing, because you can always improve and grow. And I think that's the cool thing about martial arts. Martial arts is like the ultimate journey of self-discovery, because it's almost like it's almost a paradox. You're training to fight so you can take care of yourself, so that you never actually have to fight. It's an ironic thing, right? Because it's like, by fighting, you actually train yourself not to fight, which is actually a very interesting paradox in the head. But it's also, you discover what you can do. You grow in confidence in the fact that you can take care of yourself. The fact that you can do things, and you grow in your confidence, and you grow and grow and grow, and then you realize as you get going, oh my God, I know nothing. And I think that's the whole. I think that's any discipline. Like, every discipline's the same thing. I've podcast, like, literally episode 395 is going up tonight. I've done 395 episodes. I still don't know what I'm doing. Like, I mean, that's like, I don't know. How do you do it? It's kind of like magic. I have this recording. I make it pretty. I know some things. I stay away from some things, and I work within my wheelhouse. And I know my wheelhouse, and I'm expanding. I taught myself sound effects this year, which is kind of cool. But still, it's one of those, like, you never stop growing, and that's the cool thing I think about it.
Yeah, you've really captured it, like, completely there. Like, I mean, it happens in martial arts. Like, I can remember 2 years ago, I trained with this guy named Robert Drysdale. Probably not a big name to most people in the martial arts community, specifically in jiu-jitsu. He's a very well-known, kind of as one of the best ever. And I remember, like, wrestling with him, and by this point, I'm 10-3 as a professional fighter, and I've been training for like 12 years, and I think I know what I'm doing. And this guy literally felt like he was just inventing new moves against me. Like, he just knew whatever he wanted to use that or in the game. It's a very humbling moment, but yeah, it also shows you, like, yeah, how much more you can still improve, even as somebody who's been doing it for a long time, and who does, at least compared to sort of the average person, have a ton of skill. And like, you notice those moments, I mean, you talked about it with podcasting, but I mean, I would say it happens to me with writing relatively often as well, right? I mean, I've been writing for I guess about 7-8 years now, like, regularly, and we still have those moments where it's just like, okay, wait a second, like, I didn't really know what I was doing here before, and I could probably, like, rewrite all of this to make it way better now that I understand this one concept. So yeah, I mean, you captured it completely. It's you can always improve, no matter how big you are.
My favorite martial arts video, there's an 80-year-old man going against, like, this really young, skilled dude, and this 80-year-old man can't be taken down. He just knows exactly where to step, how to be, like, no matter what he tried, doesn't matter. It's just, he's not going anywhere he doesn't want to go. And I think that's a really, like, and that's, I think I mentioned this in our first chat. We talked about levels of competence. I remember that. I said, unconsciously incompetent is the worst. That's the guy entering the gym for the first time,
yeah.
Right? Consciously incompetent is, where most of us start taking it seriously. It's like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I think this is how this works. Consciously competent. Okay, I actually know what I'm doing. I think I have a grasp of this, but I have to work at it. And then there comes a point of unconsciously competent. We don't have to think about it anymore. That's when, and to the point where you've got like a muscle memory. You've trained yourself to a discipline to such a point that at the very least, your worst day is better than most people's best days. But going to writing thing, a challenge. Do you really think you can rewrite that scene the same way or better? Because I bring up an interesting thing about writing. I look at my older work and I'm like, oh God, this sucks. What was I thinking? What was I doing? And then, but I also realized too, I don't know if I could actually make it better. Not because I don't know the techniques, because it's not just about technique. It's about your voice, and it's about that thing you needed to say when you were younger. The stick figure drawing a 5-year-old makes is the best thing they can do. For most cases, there are some geniuses out there, but let's say for the average, like that stick figure, it's everything I can do, everything I can imagine. I'm barely more skilled than that, but I could do it, kind of. I couldn't capture that feeling though in a million years, though, right? And that's I think the real when you accomplish something, when you do something, right? I don't know if I can capture that same passion that I had when I did it at the beginning, and because I don't have it, I might rebuild a completely different novel. So, and while that it might be better technically, it's not the same book.
Yeah, that makes sense. The first thing I ever wrote was a memoir about planning, or the first thing I ever finished. I wrote lots of things before that, but it's terrible, right? Like it's basically what every author says about their first book, right? Like it's the worst thing that you can ever imagine. But yeah, if I were to rewrite it, which I may do, like people, whenever I tell them that I wrote a memoir about planning, they're always like, okay, yeah, you should continue with that. And I'm like, well, I kind of can't, because it just wouldn't be the same book. I could write a different book that would still be kind of a memoir about fighting. Would probably be a lot better, might have a chance of maybe getting published or selling, but it wouldn't be the same book, right? That original book that I wrote back then, yeah, as you said, it was just sort of a different time in my life, different things going through my mind. I understand what I understand now about writing, so I could rewrite that memoir, and maybe I will at some point, but it would be a different book.
Yeah, and I mean, because you're a different guy, hopefully a better person, hopefully wiser.
Hopefully a little bit.
Maturity might not be quite all the way there. I truly do think that as at least as a guy, I don't think I matured much past 12. I mean, I got wiser, I think, but maturity. I'm still going to be jumping on trampolines when I'm 80 years old. I don't care if I'm on crutches. It's like, I'm going on that trampoline. I don't care. My grandma looks at me and says, you know how I feel at 80? It's like, yeah, but I'm not you. I won't let that stop me. I'll just need a nap afterwards. I might need a nap for 2 days. I won't care.
Yeah, my dad used to have this saying. He would tell me, he said, Chase, some people can learn by hearing something, right? You tell them something they can learn. And some people, they can learn by seeing it, right? They see it happen and they're like, oh, okay, that's how it is. And some people have to pee on the electric fence for themselves. And I know, unfortunately, I'm the third one. I've got to, be the ping pong ball and bounce off things and make mistakes, and that's how I figure things out. So yeah, I think we're on the same page there. The wisdom is coming, but it takes bouncing off some things and making some mistakes to get there.
I actually think that's the best way to learn, though. Like, to be honest with you, because okay, I decided to change. Like, this is just my last year. I decided I would change course. I could stay to where I was in Calgary, but I figured I'd take a chance. I left Calgary, ended up in Vancouver, ended up back in Windsor. I never would have imagined me being back in Windsor right now, but that's where I am. Right, and then a year from now, who knows? I could be in Zimbabwe. I don't know, right? But what an experience, right? What an experience I am getting right now, right? This crazy just adds this crazy time we live in, right? In which I think everybody's lost their minds, but that's another story here for another podcast, right? That just adds to, you're laughing your ass off, but that just adds to the experience, because I don't think the result matters that much. I really don't. I think it's the journey. Like, the journey is the ultimate destination. Hey, I tried being a New York Times best-selling author. I didn't do it, but I hung out with Spider Robinson, and I got to do this, and this. That's a wild ride. It's like, yeah. Would you change it? Nope. I didn't get what I want here, but I didn't get what I expected, and I think but I did get what I want, and I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, I think that's a great attitude to have. Definitely, captures where I'm at right now. Trying to build this business. I believe in it 100%. Like, I believe it's going to be successful. I believe that what we're doing is awesome, and that we are gonna help readers, writers, and I believe what we're doing. Is it 100% that it's gonna work out brilliantly? Well, obviously not, right? It's starting a business, it can fail, but I'm having a tremendous amount of fun every day doing it. Like I said, I get to talk to people like you and Adam Dries, Jonas Saul, and Craig DeLuey, and all these great writers in this space. And there's nobody I like interacting with more. So yeah, whether or not I end up in this kind of ultimate destination that I have in my mind, it's not that it doesn't matter, but I've had a lot of fun getting wherever I'm going.
No. How do I put this? You want to succeed. I mean, if you didn't think you could do it, you wouldn't try it. I mean, let's be honest here. You wouldn't even like, I'm gonna fail, so I'm just not gonna. No. I do think people do that though to themselves. I've seen many a person do things they should do. I've been guilty of this myself. I've had to deal with the fear of failure is a terrifying thing, because it's a trap, because you come to this realization that you can fail, and you do everything absolutely right, and you can still fail. And what a lot of people, when they come to that realization, or come to that expectation of failing, they actually start sabotaging themselves. Hey, you know that thing I was supposed to do today? I didn't do it. Hey, this momentum thing I'm trying to build here? I didn't do it. And then suddenly, you're almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So.
Absolutely. I don't know, I think I mentioned this maybe in our last chat, but one of the things I thought was kind of cool, I watched, Jonas Saul, our buddy, give a talk, maybe a month or two ago, and he said he actually held a funeral for his self-doubt, and I thought that was, sort of a really cool idea. I haven't gone that far myself yet, but that was something that, starting this year and looking at what risk, then let's say you know, carefully consider whatever your next actions are, because of course you want to be thoughtful and intentional about whatever you're doing. But ultimately you can't talk yourself out of good ideas, which is something that I had done for years, right? I was like most people. I had great ideas, or at least I thought they were great, and some of them other people ended up doing really good things with similar ideas. But I didn't act on them, right? I talked myself out of them, right? I'd be really excited about them, and then I would just kind of slowly it probably won't work. It probably won't work as that. And it is totally self-destructive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you end up not doing it, and somebody else, because there's always somebody else that has sort of similar ideas to you, right? So somebody else writes the book that you wanted to write, and it's a bestseller, or somebody else creates the business you wanted to create, and they're really successful. And so, and there's no reason that it couldn't have been you, except that you talked yourself out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You let yourself down, beat yourself.
Yeah, and that's one side, and then there's the flip side, and this is the other part. So, how do I put this? The Imposter Brothers, right? What do I describe them as? They both have the same goal. One tries to keep you exactly. They both have the same goal: keep you exactly where you are. One is doubt. One tries to talk you out of doing stuff, right? And the other one says you don't, and that's your imposter, right? Says you don't deserve what you have when you succeed, right? So, right, they go different routes. You should stay right where you are. It's safer here. You don't know what's going to happen to you. That's doubt. And then I guess the doppelganger, the upside down is like, hey, you don't deserve this thing you've achieved, this thing you've accomplished all by yourself, right? Right? You don't deserve that, right? And they're both, and they're I call them the Imposter Brothers or the Imposter Twins, right? Right? Success and failure. Right. The fear of success. They're both phobias. They're both of the opposite things, but they both have the same exact goal: keep you exactly where you are, and you have to fight both.
Yeah, I remember when I met Guy Gudricki. That was actually my first question for him was about that idea of imposter syndrome. I didn't know that it had a name at the time. I just knew that it was something that I felt with, at like, not just in writing where I haven't really achieved anything to feel like an imposter about yet, but in my writing career and in life in general, had sort of had this, I guess sort of the opposite side of doubt, where you feel like, you feel like a bit of a fraud, I guess.
Yes.
The way to put it. And he said to me, there are days where, I feel like the slickest writer on the planet. And he said, and then there's other days, Chase, where I don't know if I'm ever going to write another good line. And it just kind of was one of those things that stuck with me, because it was, like this guy who, has written like 13 best-selling novels and has had his work translated into like 21 different languages, and really should not feel like an imposter, right? Like all those other writers at the conference a few years ago were all talking about how much they looked up to him. He's an Order of Canada recipient, and it's still saying, like, hey, this is something I deal with too. And so it just, I guess that and doubt, just became something. It was like, okay, well, I'm gonna feel these things no matter what, but I just can't let them stop me. I'm gonna feel them. It is what it is.
Frau and Dow. That's the names. That's their names. Dow and Frau. Doubt and Frau. Right. That's their names. That's how I'm gonna name them. Like Dow, you're doubt. You're trying to make me doubt myself. Bro, you try telling me I'm a fraud. Fuck you both. Fuck you both. Right. I actually, you just gave me a really good idea. I might do this. I don't know if I'll do this as a motivation or I'll actually try to pitch it as an article for like a self-help. It's called Dear Imposter Brothers. And the first line is just, Dear Imposter Brothers, fuck you. And then just go on my diatribe. Right. Yeah. I think you know. I might just do it. I might just do it as as my Monday motivation because it feels like something people need to hear. We take ourselves. We all sell ourselves short. It doesn't matter where we're at in the grand scheme of things. It really doesn't. You make an action, you change. You make an action, you create change. Right? And once you make those changes, and if you just keep walking into the changes, eventually you become that person you've always envisioned yourself to be, right? Regardless of whether this thing succeeds or that thing succeeds, it's about just charging, moving forward. God, I sound like Rocky, don't I? Keep moving, keep moving forward. But it's so true. What?
It's not a bad way to sound sometimes, you know? I mean,
yeah.
I always think, like, that's a cool moment, you know, on both sides. It's a cool moment for me because I really like the idea you just told me about, you know. But, you know, it's always a cool moment when you have that sort of, like, you know, aha, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this, right? I'm gonna do, like, you know, something like this. You just have to, whether it's a story idea or, you know, a personal improvement idea or whatever it is, you have that sort of, like, aha moment. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this now. That's a badass moment. So it's cool, you know, for me to just hear that you're gonna, you know, write this like a Monday motivation. I think that's awesome idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you see it Monday, you'll pop. Because like I said, I'm gonna tell you, it's like, dear imposter brothers, fuck you, and then go from there. It's such a. See, again, you're smiling at it because you understand it. It's like, yeah, fuck you. You know, we have to be defiant in this. We have to be defiant in this world. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. Like I said, it happens to everyone. You know, I recall my coach, you know, Brad Wall in martial arts, telling me that like his first, you know, like big tournament, like the first time he went to Thailand, he was sitting there with two guys who were like way more experienced than him. They were both like multiple time world champions, and both of these guys were like shaking, you know, as they're like about getting ready to fight, right? And he was like, really, you guys get nervous? Like, you know, you guys are like, you're killers, right? And they're like, man, it doesn't go away. It just doesn't go away. You just learn to handle it. You go in there, really kick some ass.
Well, here's the thing. If it went away, I wouldn't want. You don't belong there no anymore. That fear makes you. I mean, this is true. Beyond just martial arts, you need that fear. You need it because it makes you more. Do you know, like, the biggest high in your life is when you're scared? You're absolutely fucking terrified, and you're aware of everything around you. The first time I went through it, I remember this. I was a kid, and we were at the Pinery in Ontario. It's a park, but there's this, like, it's Lake Huron, like one of the Great Lakes. It was really wavy that day. So I remember this. I still remember this. I was 7. My sister was like 5. My sister goes in the pool. Wave knocks her on her butt. Literally knocks her on her butt. She gets out. She stays out. My mom just suntans. I started. You know, I'm gonna do my dad. My dad's doing dolphin dives in the pool. He's just jumping around. Like he's just enjoying that release. And this big wave comes down. I'm like, I don't want to get hit by that wave. And I look at it, but then again, there's just this voice in my head. It's like, you know, you want to get hit by this wave. I'm like, no, that's fucking crazy. No, I have to do it. It's like, and I realized, like, because you're aware, like, there's that you know, when I get to the point where I can have a midlife crisis again, when this is over and I can actually do it, I'm probably getting into skydiving. I feel like that's probably where I'm going next, because I'm that kind of, I'm wired that way, I think, more than anything else. So, you want that fear because that fear tells you you're alive. If you're not scared, you're dead. Because in the ring, your opponent is scared. And your opponent's going to be sharper than you simply because he's got that edge. That fear will give him that. He will look for a solution to a problem you didn't even know was there. Whereas if you go in, it's like, I got this. It's when you get your ass knocked out.
It's very, very strange, to, I guess, describe the way things are when you're actually in the fight, because it literally feels like time almost kind of slows down. You do have this, like, just sort of weird, like, I'm very calm before, but I guess outwardly calm, but
you got butterflies. So you might get your ass handed to you. I mean, that's just the risk. Like, you've accepted that risk, but I mean that it doesn't mean you want that to happen to you either, right?
It goes through all our minds, and because of that, fear, you get in there and it's like everything slows down, and even like, this is probably the weirdest thing, but even like my hearing, like, it's like I've fought in front of like thousands of people, and like there are thousands of people like screaming, and like the only things I can hear are like the voices of my like cornermen, my coaches, and like what's happening in the ring, right? Like the smack of like my legs and that kind of thing. I cannot hear the crowd at all when I'm in there, which is kind of, it's just a sort of a bizarre kind of.
This is Kathleen with BookBrush, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about BookBrush.com. Our team developed BookBrush for authors like you after having hundreds of conversations with authors that were struggling with creating images or simply paying too much per image to have a graphic designer do the job. So we created, for authors specifically, the easiest way to create professional ads and social media images for your books. We'd love to have you join us at bookbrush.com.
And that's part one of my conversation with Chase Degenhardt, man. Check out his app. We talk more about that in part two, but we got more fight stories as well. This was a really cool part of the conversation we talk about here. About inches, how inches are the difference between good and great, and it's truly true. A couple of things before I wrap up. BookBrush is the program. I'm doing a little demonstration on August 27th. You'll see the Zoom link for that as well. I got a lot happening this month, so I mean, it's just... I actually maybe should wrap up by just talking about that. Right this minute, a lot of people are looking at this, and it is the end. It's the end of what we were. It's not the end of where we're going. At this point in life, you have the opportunity to reinvent yourself. Look, COVID, one way or the other, we're going to go outside. The masks are going to be gone at some point as well. Like, we're going to come to the point where life will resume some sort of normal. Not necessarily the normal we have or the new normal or whatever bullshit, narrative that's in the air. At some point, things will ease. Some point, things will loosen. Some point, we will get back to being who we were. In terms of life will go on. But while we're in this position, while we're in this bubble, there's this golden opportunity to reinvent yourself. And that's what I'm doing. I have audiobooks. I've started that. I got my books. I am going full tilt, all in. On everything. That's why so many things are always happening at once. It's why I talk the way I talk. That's why I keep trying to make things happen. So, if nothing else you can learn from me, it's that you can reinvent yourself in this era. So let's talk about a couple things coming up. When Words Collide is this week. I have my podcast panel. I have also, same night, I am doing a freelance panel. And after that, I am part of Joe's Go Indie Now show. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited. That's Friday. Saturday, I'm doing the Aurora Awards. I'm actually with Joe interviewing potential guests and nominees. I'm nominated as well. I will not be wearing a tutu during the first part of this because I really don't know if I've won. And I might not have. Honestly, Ed Willett and has got a great show. The rest of the candidates on there are amazing. It would not shock me if somebody else won. But I will be there, and I'll be interviewing people, and then I'll be doing a presentation on advertising in the apocalypse and why you should be doing that now. And I'm going to be talking specifically about creating funnels for yourself. And the freelance and the advertising are actually going to go hand in hand. And I'm going to be very, very clear about that. You should come to both. And you should come to my podcasting panel. Even though making a podcast may not be the biggest thing from your mind, it'll be something kind of fun for you to do. So definitely check it out. And then I got Al Zero the week after. And then I also got Book Brush, my presentation there. I'm interviewing the head of the Book Brush. We're doing a quiet demonstration on August 27th, 7 p.m. The Zoom link will be up. Come on out. And then I have a tea party in early September. And I'm starting my audiobook business next week. I already have my first client. I'm hoping to get one more client sometime this weekend just so I can get things really, really rolling. Right now, you have the opportunity to build something that will endure hard times. Hard times are coming. We haven't hit the point where the economy is cratered yet. It will. And if you have a system where you can create work for yourself, now's the time to make it. Now's the time to look at who you want to be and go for it. Because otherwise, it's now. It's never. And that'll do it for this episode of Just Joshing. If you want to support the podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. You can subscribe to the podcast. I'm on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon, and a bunch of other platforms I just cannot ever remember. I'm everywhere. Pretty much look me up. I'm there. You'll find me. Check it. Click the subscribe button. Awesome. Number 1. Number 2, Alice Zero is out August 25th. The pre-order's on the bottom. Click it. It's $1.99. It's illustrated by Mackenzie Carr, written by yours truly. Go for it. Also, The Cloud Diver, written by myself, illustrated by Lance Bond. Fun read. Awesome read. Learned a lot. Very cool. Outside of that, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at jpentellaresco. My YouTube channel is Joshua Pentellaresco. You can find all the old podcasts there and some streaming stuff as well. Stay inspired. Keep doing your thing. And I'll see you guys on Thursday.
Josh.